At Augusta National, tradition does not live only in the fairways. Sometimes it is folded in wax paper, pimento cheese, egg salad, barbecue. Simple offerings served with the same quiet consistency for generations. While much of the sports world has embraced spectacle, Augusta National chose restraint. Here, a sandwich still costs what it should. Because the aim was never indulgence, it was experience. A taste of spring, a familiar ritual, a small detail that becomes part of memory. And at the Masters, memory is everything. Today, we explore the story behind the most famous concession stands in golf. McConnell Golf presents Road to Augusta. Here's your host, Ward Clayton.
We got Chris Cunningham today. Chris is, I think it's fair to say, a veteran restaurateur in Augusta, Georgia, Lifesaver Restaurants. He's got great stories about the culture of food in Augusta. Chris, thanks for joining us. Maybe if you would just first off, give us a sense of what growing up in Augusta, Georgia was like for you, and just the sense of community, if you would.
Well, I appreciate y'all asking me to do this. I was born and raised here, and my dad's been in the restaurant business all his life. He ran the cafeteria at Lily Tulip Cup Company. I don't know if you remember that big old cup.
Yes, sir.
Down on Wrightsboro Road, but he ran that. He ran that cafeteria for 19 years before he started Lifesaver, and he started Lifesaver in our front yard, built it in the front yard of the house I was raised in the middle of our baseball field, and made a bunch of the local kids mad because we had to move our baseball field out of the way for him to build the restaurant. But, it was great back then. I mean, my dad and I and my brother and a guy named Hambone, it was a family friend. We dug the foundation to that store, that first Lifesaver, by hand. And that was 1965. And, it was good. All I ever did was play baseball. I didn't play golf. I didn't even know where a golf course was until I was out of college. But you rode our bicycle everywhere. We rode our bicycle downtown to the Imperial Theater to watch the Kelly Pepsi Buddy Club, to watch Tarzan movies. You could get in with a hamburger wrapper and a Pepsi bottle cap.
How about that?
And we rode all. So it was fun. It was typical, pretty small town, but it was fun. We had a good time, and everybody looked out for everybody back then. It was a good place. It was a good place to grow up.
No doubt, no doubt. So it sounds like you didn't have much choice but to go into the restaurant business. And maybe explain why you became interested in that as you grew up, but also explain to me, to the folks who might be listening here, exactly what Lifesaver is, if you would.
Right. Well, like I said, my daddy built the first one when I was 12. So, and when we opened, it was me and my mama and my daddy and my brother and a man named Mr. Jack. We were the 5 employees the day that we opened. So, to be honest with you, after about 3 or 4 years of that, I hated the restaurant business. I mean, we worked from can to can. We were closed on Mondays, and it got into my playing time. We'd be outside playing, and my daddy would call and say, "We need a batch of banana pudding," and my brother and I'd have to drop our baseball gloves in, go in and make a batch of banana pudding. So I wasn't crazy about the restaurant business. I wanted to get out of it. I went to Augusta College for a couple of years and worked at a bank, and went to Georgia for 2 years and worked at a bank up there, and had planned to go to law school and didn't want to have anything to do with the restaurant business. But my dad's health got bad, and so I ended up coming back and kind of taking over for him a little bit, and was just going to do it for a while. But, Lifesaver's been a tradition here in Augusta really since we started. I mean, we've been picked the best fried chicken in Augusta for 50 straight years. And it's Southern cooking. It's green beans and macaroni and cheese and black-eyed peas and banana pudding and fried chicken. And it's just good old Southern cooking. And my grandmother, my daddy's mama, is the one that named it. We were sitting around a table before we opened and said, you know, you're going to be saving the wife from cooking. And this was really before the term home meal replacement really existed. And said, you know, why don't you just call it a wife saver? So that's where it came from. And this hat I have on, it's got lovebirds on it. And this was on our original sign. Everybody thinks they're chickens or parrots or whatever, but they're really lovebirds. If you look close at it, it's a little bird and a big bird. And so that's been on our logo. And you can show this, just the birds with 1965, to anybody that's lived in Augusta very long, and they know that's the Wife Saver sign. So that's kind of the short version of the Wife Saver story. And, you know, when I came back and I'd been working and going to school and was broke and was making a little bit of money and had a car and lived in an apartment. So I kind of got used to that. And then, so I stayed with it, and it provided for my parents later in life. And because, I mean, my dad, he really started them because I had polio when I was 9 months old. Right. And I needed a bunch of operations at the Georgia Baptist Hospital in Atlanta when I was coming up, from the time I was about 6 until 12. And there was no such thing as health insurance back then. So he really started Wife Saver to pay for what he needed for his family, which basically was operations for me. So that's kind of why he did it. And it's been good to our family. And now we are actually in our 4th generation. My dad, me, my daughter and son are both in the business, along with my son-in-law. And now my grandkids are 12 and 14, and they're working in the business. So we're into our 4th generation. So it's been good to us, been good to our family.
Your story sounds like it's a wonderful life, Chris. You know, when you know the he's intended on going and leaving the city, and his father gets sick and so forth, and he called back to stand up for the family business, so to speak. So
well, that's kind of the way it worked out. And you know, it like I said, it might have been God's plan for us, and it worked out that way.
I got you. So tell me what the cycle is for you in your restaurant. You know, 51 weeks out of the year, you're doing a great amount of business, but when Masters Week comes, how does it change for you? What's the difference there?
It really doesn't change a lot for us. You know, for years we did so much at the tournament with the chicken sandwiches and things that, you know, we can talk about that a little bit later. But, you know, people coming into town, they don't know Wife Saver from Adam's House Cat. So they don't really, and they're usually looking for some place where they can go have a drink and dine out or whatever. But we do have a lot of regular people that, you know, when they are renting their house or whatever they're doing, when they get home from being at the tournament all day long, they don't really want to go out and stand in line and do all that kind of stuff. So they'll order from us and then, you know, just take it back to the house. What's really changed for us in the last couple of years is DoorDash. And again, you know, you might have 4 guys that are renting a house and they're 55 years old or whatever, and they don't feel like going out. They'll just order DoorDash. And so that's been good for us. So we do a little bit more, you know, probably 20 to 25% more volume than we would on a normal week. But a lot of our regular customers either rent houses or go out of town or change things. So as not as much as people like Walter Clay and Sean White and all those guys, you know, we don't see the crazy influx of business that a lot of people do.
Gotcha. So you referred to making food at Augusta National. Maybe take me back to the genesis of how that started and what you made, what you provided for them, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. No. It's you know, it started in the early '80s. I was running a store, had a young family. I'm out beating the bushes, and I had been to the tournament, and a chicken sandwich back then in the early '80s was a bone-in chicken breast on a piece of white bread in a green bag with a sticker on it. And they called that a chicken sandwich. I mean, it had a bone in it.
Yep.
So I found out it was a gentleman by the name of Alex Colley that ran the Concessions. His daddy did it before he did. I think they started his daddy might have started in the original. I mean, back in the 30s and 40s. I don't know that for a fact, but I know Mr. Colley's daddy did it, and so I just found out who was in charge, and I was looking for business, and so I called and went out there and met him. He was in an Airstream trailer on the site at the Augusta National. I went and met with him, and I said, I know you're buying these. I don't know who you're buying these chicken breasts on this piece of bread for. I said, but I guarantee you I can do a better job. And so he said, well, your timing's good because believe it or not, Crystal was cooking the chicken for him. I don't know if you remember or not, but Crystal had a little side thing on a Crystal that they did fried chicken for a couple of years.
Okay.
And he said, they didn't do a very good job last year, so your timing's good. So the first year that I did them for him, all I did was cook the chicken breast. And I think we cooked maybe 1,000 at the most that first year. And we did that for a couple of years. And then I went and to talk to him, and then I said, Mr. Colley, I said, you know, a bone-in chicken breast on a piece of white bread ain't a chicken sandwich. Right. I said, it's a bone-in chicken breast on a piece of white bread. I said, yep. Why don't you let me bring you some samples of a boneless chicken, piece of chicken, and do a real sandwich? And he said, well, get a couple of samples together and we'll take a look at it. So we did that, and they have a committee, and Frank Troutman was chairman of the committee at the time, and they liked what I brought them, and so they changed it to a real chicken sandwich that we did for them. So that went on for, I mean, we did that for, at least 30 years. I'd have to do the math to think about it, but we did them for 30 years, and we were cooking the chicken, we were putting it on the bun, we were putting it in the green bag, put the sticker on it, we put it in the trays, we took it out to the National, and we did it every day, including the practice rounds, and delivered them to the stands. And we did that for years. Right. And so that's how the chicken part of it did. And it was all done with me and Alex Colley on a handshake. We never had a contract. We never wrote anything down. Every year I'd go visit him, and he'd say, okay, this year, Chris, on Monday I want this many. On Tuesday I want this many. On Wednesday, he went through the whole deal. We'd shake hands, and we did that for over 30 years, and that's the way we handled it. And at the end of the tournament, I'd go out there and meet him in that Airstream trailer, and he'd write me a check, and he'd say, see you next year.
How about that? Wow. Wow.
So the pimento cheese part of it kind of came up that, again, it was Mr. Colley. He called me one day and said, Chris, the guy that's been making the pimento cheese for us, I don't know if he passed away. He didn't give me the story. He said, we're not going to be able to buy the pimento cheese from him anymore. And he said, can you help us? And I said, well, it's pimento cheese. It ain't rocket science. I said, I think we can figure pimento cheese out. And my daddy actually had a pimento cheese that he made when he ran the cafeteria at the Lily Tulip at the Cup place. So we made a couple and took them out there. And again, we went in front of the committee, and they tasted, I don't know if I did 3 or 4 of them, I don't remember, but they said, well, this is the one we like right here. So we made 500 or 600 pounds of it from them that first year, and then they made their own sandwiches, and nobody ever knew that it changed. They never had anything that changed. And so then the next year we started doing the egg salad for them, and we were just putting that in tubs and selling it, and they were making the sandwiches themselves. So that's how it kind of morphed. So we were doing it one time. We were doing the chicken sandwiches, the pimento cheese, and the egg salad for them.
So did you have an operation that prepared the sandwiches, or you just provided the food for them?
No, we made the chicken sandwiches. We cooked the chicken. We put them on the buns. We put them in the bag. We did all that. The pimento cheese, we just made it in 5-pound buckets and took it to them, and they made the sandwiches themselves.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's sort of an institution there. Those 3 sandwiches you mentioned. Give me an indication. Do you eat, when you go to the Masters, do you eat those sandwiches, and do you have a favorite among those 3?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't been in a long time. Mainly because, like I said, I had polio, and I'm 73 years old. So all that walking just never has been, anything that was good for me. So I haven't been in a long time. But when I went, it was kind of quality control. I wanted to go get one just like a patron would get it and eat a chicken sandwich or an egg salad or pimento cheese to see what it was like. So I liked them all. I mean, of course, we had access to them because, we'd send thousands of them out there, but we'd keep a handful to eat too. So, we had access to those anyway.
I don't want you to give me the recipe because I know you don't want to do that, but what's the secret to making a good pimento cheese sandwich? What ingredients, what makes it so successful?
The secret, I mean, it's not really a secret. Like I said, pimento cheese ain't rocket science. I mean, It's basically, it's cheese and some kind of mayonnaise or salad dressing. But if you're going to make a good pimento cheese, the main things you need to remember is use a good cheese. Use a good sharp cheese, and use a good heavy duty mayonnaise. And heavy duty means it's got more eggs in it than oil. So if you use a cheap mayonnaise and cheap cheese, you're gonna have crappy pimento cheese. But if you use a good sharp, extra sharp grated cheese and good mayonnaise, and then you can do whatever you want to make it your own. You can add cream cheese. You can do, a lot of people do spice it up with jalapenos. They, do crazy things with it. So you can make it your own. But if you start with good mayonnaise and good cheese, good cheese, you're going to be okay.
All right, use your creativity here. Other than a pimento cheese sandwich like they serve it on white bread there, how would you make one? Because I know people that go out there and they'll get potato chips and put it in the middle of it and do all these other concoctions, make like a Frankenstein sandwich or something like that. So what would you do with pimento cheese to sort of spice it up to make it take it to the next level?
Well, sometimes when we have pimento cheese at the stores, so we sell pimento cheese at the at the Wife Saver stores, and so it's readily available, and I use it, and what I do is put it on a ham sandwich, and so have a ham and pimento cheese sandwich, okay. and that's kind of my go-to doctor it up kind of sandwich.
Okay. All right. If people that are watching and listening to this all over the world, hopefully, if they want to get pimento cheese at a store other than yours that you provide, well, who makes pimento cheese? What grocery store that's sort of similar to what you would serve at Augusta National?
The Palmetto pimento cheese, I'm sure you've seen it. They've gotten really big over the years, but the Palmetto pimento cheese they have a good pimento cheese. It's simple. They don't put onions in it. A lot of people but it's a good southern pimento cheese. So that's that Palmetto, which is available most everywhere. Costco, I know they carry it. So but that Palmetto pimento cheese is a good pimento cheese.
What's your theory on why that sandwich has become sort of so iconic?
Part of it is it's always been cheap. Yeah, I don't know what it is now, but I mean, at one time it was when we first started doing them, they were $1. So everybody wants to go. What in the world can you get for $1 at a golf tournament? So I think that was part of it. It was cheap, and then the other thing is that it's southern. Now, I don't think that very many Northerners have ever had a pimento cheese sandwich or even know what pimento cheese is. So it's kind of, a curiosity. So the curiosity is for two different reasons. One, it's $1. It might be $1.50 now or $2. I don't know. But anyway, if they've been to other golf tournaments where you get any kind of sandwich, it's $12. So they know it's cheap and it's something that they've never seen before. So I think those two things is what's kind of made it, taking a life of its own.
Now, when you were providing that sandwich and others to them, I know they don't allow you to advertise that you do this and so forth, so on like that. Was that a little bit of a badge of pride that you were providing food for them for the tournament? Give me a sense for that.
Yeah, it was. It's always been good to be affiliated with it. Especially back in the day when it was so much an Augusta thing. It's gotten so big and so corporate now that it's ties to Augusta. Other than the name, it really doesn't have the ties to Augusta that it used to. It used to be, AB Beverage did the beer. They were a local beer provider, distributor. They did the beer. They don't do it anymore. We don't do anything for them anymore. And I understand they've got a huge target on their back as far as some, in our litigious society, and taking everything in-house where they know every person that's touching everything that they're selling and everything that they're doing. I understand, why they've done what they've done. So, it's just part of the culture that we live in. But it's not as a big a piece of Augusta as it used to be. But back then, yeah, it was good. A lot of people knew we did it. They didn't want us telling everybody. But that's just something you can't really, when you got a bunch of college kids working for you, making that many sandwiches. I mean, most tournaments, we did 100,000 chicken sandwiches. You're doing that many sandwiches and you got college kids working all night helping you make them. You ain't going to keep very many secrets.
I agree. So it's become a little bit of a trend where people are always trying to figure out the recipe for that. And like you mentioned, to keep it simple. But why do you think people are so interested in trying to find every little nit and bit about how a simple sandwich like that is made?
It's just funny. I don't really know. I think part of it is that when we stopped making it, they didn't really have the recipe. They were taking it in house, and when we quit making it, the relationship kind of ended. It really wasn't handled very well, to be honest with you. It could have been handled a whole lot better, and so. They didn't have the recipe. And so, I mean, like I said, it's not that complicated. And with their resources, you would think that that they could have done a better job. But the first couple of years that we didn't do the pimento cheese sandwiches, or the pimento cheese, excuse me, we didn't make the pimento cheese. They had a lot of complaints, and people go, something's wrong. I mean, they had a ton of people that noticed it was different. Unlike when we took it over from the guy that was doing it, with Mr. Colley back years ago, it was seamless. But when they took it over, whoever was making it, people noticed immediately. So I think that's what started it, is everybody was trying to figure out what was different and why is it different. And so it just kind of built from there.
No doubt. I agree. A lot of folks who maybe have never been to the Masters or have a lot of routines about eating at places outside of the grounds. And I think a lot of that's sort of an undiscovered thing for first timers. What's your take on the Augusta food scene? And do you have, other than Wife Saver, do you have 3 or 4 restaurants that you would suggest that people frequent when they go to the Masters?
Sure. I do think that we're going to continue to grow for people that want to stay home and they can do DoorDash or order from us. But, the local guys that, we're regulars at Beck's, which is Jim Beck's place on Central Avenue. Excuse me, John. That's John Beck. Jim Beck is French Market Grill West.
Right.
So they're brothers. And so you have those two, which are, really good places. And then Sean White has Frog Hollow downtown. And he's got several places, Farmhouse and several places down. And we just ate at Frog Hollow a week ago. And it's great. And then, a couple of other traditions. I mean, you got the Usheries. You got Brad Ushery and Havard that have Fat Man's Cafe downtown. It's a local place that has been around forever. So and Sheehan's is still a good local place to go. So those are the ones that we kind of that we like to go to and that we frequent. Well, of course, and Abel Brown's too. Yeah. Todd's place.
Yeah.
Are all good local places that all of them, even not during the Masters. I mean, you got to call all those places. You got to get a reservation at least a week in advance.
Yeah.
So they're popular places, and all those guys do a good job.
Yep. That's a whole culture into itself, isn't it, Chris? Because you go to the Masters, you can't have your cell phone and you're talking with people you've never met before. And then you go to restaurants at night and everybody from table to table, you've not met them before, or even in your place, they probably just interact with you. So where are you from? Your first Masters, how many Masters you've been to? That's a whole culture into itself, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And people, it's fun to be around Masters Week. The Augusta Country Club, of course, is a great place for people to hang out, but you've got to have access there. But you can go to a lot of other places and just hang out and be around. It's a different atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So since you've gone to the Masters many times and so forth, and I know you hadn't been recently, like you said, did you have a particular insight that people have never been before, what you should do, where you should go, things like that when you go to Augusta National?
Like I said, I haven't been in a long time. I think, everybody, it's amazing the merchandise that they move in that place. I mean, it's just crazy. I actually was out at the National last year and with a member that took us on a really great tour. When we got through playing, he asked if we'd rather play the par three or take a tour of the grounds. And my buddy I was with he gets around not quite as good as I do. We were pretty whipped, so we just took a tour, but which was wonderful. It was great. But he said they sold a hat from the time they opened the gates until the time they closed them. They sold a hat every 3 seconds. So I mean, it's nuts. But I think getting a good spot and walking around is a good seeing the grounds. And if you've never been there before, you want to walk around because it's amazing how hilly it is. When you talk about starting where the clubhouse is, and then you go all the way down to where 12 Amen Corner is on 11, 12, and 13. That distance, when you get ready, you better have your walking shoes on when you start going back up that hill because it's a hike.
I agree.
So but to try to see as much as you can if you're going to be there. So it's quite an experience, and I love getting tickets and helping people that have never been before.
Yep.
So I don't have access to tickets, but we can, if somebody ask me, then I try to get them to somebody that's never been before.
Yep. There's a gentleman we're going to have on the show. His name is Lou Miller. Lou's from Lincolnton.
Yeah.
And he's been in the golf profession forever and ever. Lives in the North Carolina mountains now. It's been 60-some years. Every round, Lou has 4 tickets. The other 3 people that go with him have never been before.
Wow.
He's got that tradition where he gets just as much out of in showing people the place for the first time as he does going himself.
Yeah, I'm sure that's quite an undertaking, and I'm sure that he's got a lot of people that will remember him for the rest of their lives.
I know. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. So some quick hitters here, Chris. And this we've covered this a little bit, but this is sort of the question everybody asks: egg salad or pimento cheese?
Egg salad for me.
Why's that?
It's just lighter.
Okay.
It's simple. I mean, the egg salad, as far as I can remember, is nothing but eggs and mayonnaise and salt and pepper.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty simple and it's lighter.
Okay.
So that's a good one for me.
Okay. If you went to the golf shop at Augusta National and I told you can only buy one thing, what's it going to be?
I'd say probably a shirt. And I'll tell you just a quick story. I was at a concert in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Went to see Robert Earl Keen in Austin, Texas. And I was sitting there, and this young man was sitting next to me, and I had two things happened. When I was walking to the liquor store, and I asked the guy where the nearest liquor store was, and he said, well, it's 2 blocks down this way. And he looked, and he said, is that a Masters shirt? I said, yeah, it sure is. And so he recognized that little logo. And then when I went to the tournament that night, this young man asked me about it. He said, is that a Masters shirt? I said, it sure is. He said, man, I sure would like to go there sometime. He said, if I ever get to go, I'm going to buy me a shirt. And I said, you know what? You can have this one. So I took it off and gave it to him at the concert. So it was an alcohol related incident, but I gave him the shirt. So if you go, just make sure you buy a shirt because everybody recognizes that little logo.
Oh man, that's a priceless story. That's awesome. That's awesome. So do you have a favorite spot to watch golf at Augusta National? You tell everybody you need to go there and watch from this place.
You know, it used to be 16, but it's gotten kind of crowded. But you know, it's always fun to watch them hit those tee shots. So 16 green, if you can get a good spot, you know, that's a good spot to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good one.
In the times you went, did you have a routine to follow? Did you make sure you walked a certain place, to sit a certain space, anything like that?
No, it usually depended on who we went with. You know, because usually when we went with somebody that hadn't been before, and we just let them decide that, you know, they had already made up their mind where they wanted to go and what they wanted to do. So, you know, like you're talking about your buddy Lou from Lincolnton, you got somebody and they probably hadn't slept the night before. He's got all those people that lost a lot of sleep because they were like kids on Christmas Day. Yeah,
I agree. Well, folks that are listening and watching here, if you go to Wife Saver when you're there, I always call it, Chris, I always call it a meet and three.
That's right.
Yep. You can do that. It's terrific. The fried chicken, even though I don't eat very much fried chicken, when I go there, I'm gonna have some fried chicken. So that's pretty good. And how much are your little containers of pimento cheese?
It's $5.99 a pound, so $6 a pound.
Okay.
So and the smaller ones, I believe, are for 8 ounces are like $3.19.
Okay.
So it's, you know, you can make. It takes about 2 ounces to make a sandwich. So you can make 4 ounce. You can make 4 sandwiches with the 8 ounce and 8 sandwiches with the 16 ounce.
Yeah.
Makes pretty good sandwiches.
So is your closest restaurant to Augusta National? Go down Washington Road under 20 and up to near the intersection with Fury's Ferry, and it's right on the left, correct? Is that the closest
that's
one?
right. That's probably the closest one. You know, people that are staying in Columbia County, we got one on Fury's Ferry Road, you know, right there at Fury's Ferry at Mulliken Road. And then a lot of people staying in North Augusta. We got one right there across the river in North Augusta. So they're spread around depending on where they're staying, the most accessible.
Yeah. So for people listening, and we're talking about food here, you know, Chris and the people that run restaurants in Augusta are just as much a part of the culture of the tournament as the tournament itself, because when you get out of there, you're so amped up. You want to go out and have a drink or have a bite to eat or something like that, or order food locally. I know I don't want to eat from a chain. I want to eat from a locally produced food. That makes it the whole experience even better. So, Chris, thanks for joining us. Thanks for telling the pimento cheese story. Thanks for taking your shirt off at the concert and giving it to somebody else. That's awesome.
On the road to Augusta, we honor the places where history lives, not just in trophies, but in the soil beneath your feet. That's the spirit of McConnell Golf. What began with the preservation of Donald Ross's final design at Raleigh Country Club has grown into the largest owner of premier private clubs in the Southeast. Today, their portfolio spans 17 exceptional properties across the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Virginia, featuring courses designed by legends like Ross, Pete Dye, Tom Fazio, Arnold Palmer, and Greg Norman. And consider this: Sedgefield Country Club, home of the PGA Tour's Wyndham Championship, is also where the Atlantic Coast Conference was founded back in 1953. That's not just golf history, that's sports history. McConnell Golf lives by a simple motto: pure golf for the true golfer. Championship conditions, remarkable hospitality, and a family-focused club lifestyle that extends well beyond the fairways. To learn more about this extraordinary collection of clubs, visit McConnellGolf.com. McConnell Golf, where championship golf meets lasting tradition.
Glad to have Walter Clay and Todd Schaefer with us today. Both of these guys are restaurateurs in Augusta, and they know the food scene in and out. And the cool thing to me is when you go to the Masters, you get memorable food on site. But if you go out at night and eat at these restaurants, you'll really get a treat because some of the food in Augusta is excellent. So these guys can walk us through that. If you go to the Masters, they'll tell you where to eat and so forth, probably at their places, but that's okay. So both of you guys, how many years combined have you all owned restaurants?
Well, talking earlier, we figured it out to what, 57, Todd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around there.
Wow.
Right.
So I'm going to play off of that. Todd, you go first. Why in the world did you go into the restaurant business? What drew you into that interest?
I don't really think I never was, I'm not wasn't typically, I didn't want to start a restaurant. It was really never in my mind, but I loved cooking. And so I was living in California and working in Napa, and my wife got pregnant, and my parents wanted us to be, close to home. So they helped us open a restaurant in Augusta back in 1999.
Cool. And Todd, for everybody listening, runs a restaurant called Abel Brown, which is at Surrey Center. You could almost walk from Augusta National there if you wanted to. So that's cool. All right, Walter, what's your story? Why the restaurant business? What enticed you to do that?
Well, I was working my way through college and was going to be a math major and had planned on being a high school math teacher. And, same kind of thing. I loved the kitchen. I had a great role model. I make the joke about my mother being the second best cook I've known. And everybody goes, "Oh, I guess you're number one." And I go, "No, her mom was number one."
Yeah.
So, the food part of it was in my blood. And then I got a passion for dining rooms and waiting tables. It's still my favorite job is to wait on tables. And it just kind of grew from there. I was saying earlier when we were off screen that Todd and I worked together at Calvert's. And Craig Calvert and Chuck Baldwin started the French Market Grill. I came down as the original manager. Chuck bought Craig out of the French Market. He and I formed a partnership, opened Ray's Coastal Cafe, and then I bought Chuck out of that. And it was less about starting a restaurant and more about the next promotion, it felt like.
I'm going to draw a parallel for you guys. I went into the newspaper business where you didn't make a lot of money and you spent a lot of hours doing it, but it was a passion there. So I suspect going into the restaurant business is probably if you're not passionate about it, you're not diving in there to become Bill Gates and become automatically wealthy. What kind of passion do you have to do some of that kind of work?
I think you just have to. I never picture myself doing anything else. I really never had any other jobs that didn't involve cooking at some point. I think you just have to have a real passion for hospitality and wanting to please people. I think that's such a big part of it. Wanting to be accessible to the community, and it makes me feel good. When people. It's selfish on my part, but it makes me feel good when people like, the food we're serving, or like the experience that they have. I think it's more that. Certainly it was never for the money. But it's nice to be recognized. I just got nominated for a James Beard Award, which, I'm 55 now. So it's taken, it's a long time coming, but also really, really great to have that recognition. So
no doubt. All right, Ty, well, I got you here before I asked Walter that same question. What's the origin of the name Abel Brown? Who is Abel Brown?
So Abel Brown is a fictitious sailor. There's a sea shanty about it. I wanted to do something nautical that wasn't overtly, cheesy, like, the Jolly Roger or Captain Jack's or something like that. So I really just did a deep dive into nautical history and I really liked Abel Brown because also because of its alphabetically in any kind of lists. AB is a great way to be the first on a list. And when I first opened, our best money spent in advertising was in the yellow pages, and so being listed first was kind of a big thing. So,
Awesome.
and really, it means and Abel Brown. What the origin is, it means able-bodied. So they would look for an able-bodied sailor, but they would call him an Abel Brown.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. Walter, how much passion have you had to have for your restaurant to survive?
Oh, there's been months in a row where the only thing you can survive on is passion because you're not making money or affording to be able to eat. So there's a lot of passion involved. But I will say I do love what I do. I've been doing it forever, and as I said earlier, since working with Todd at Calvert's, I haven't done any other job except something in the restaurant business. I do love it. I want to tie into what he said earlier about having that passion, and it was his comment was it's selfish, and I feel that way too. It just brings me a great bit of joy to see the people that come in, that are happy with the experience that that you provide, and it's meaningful. And the second thing, something Todd said earlier, but made me think of this also, is about when I train the staff, I say, don't worry about the money. If you're joyous in your work, money will be a byproduct. And, I've known, happy chefs make more money than chefs that come in late and angry at everybody. And, happy waiters make more money than angry bartenders. It's just, that's part of the formula of life.
Well, I know both of you guys are smart businessmen. I will share a story about Walter that you'll appreciate, Todd. One of the first years at the Masters, when I was visiting with Walter, I said, "What's your marketing budget for your restaurant?" And he looked at me and went, "Zero." And I said, "Zero?" I said, "Well, how do you get all these people here?" And he just pointed at me. He said, "You're my free marketing. You come in here, enjoy the food, and you go out and tell people, and all of a sudden, folks are following you in here." So I thought that was pretty brilliant to say that. Something that I was interested in doing here on this podcast was talking about food, because that's such an essential part of Masters Week. Maybe both of you guys, if you would, explain how your restaurant changes for 51 weeks of the year and then Masters Week. What changes there? I know you're busy year round, but that week is a little bit of a different animal. Maybe you can explain a little bit how that works.
Sure. I have a pretty good large staff already, so we really don't. A lot of people bring staff in from outside for the week. We don't do that. We just go with what we've got, and it always seems to work out just fine. We don't overwork anyone, but it does change because it's just longer. It's longer services. It's longer days. As opposed to from 6 to 8. Masters Week is 5 to 11. It's just a little bit more grueling service, but we bring in some different things, some special products here and there, but we don't fundamentally change who we are, just for that 1 week.
Right. Okay. Walter?
Yeah, we do something. We're doing a similar thing. I laughed when Todd said the hours were longer because it's from 5 to 11, which is not entirely accurate. It takes a lot of hours in the kitchen to open at 5. And after 11, when the last customer gets seated, you're still cooking. And then there's cleanup after that. So,
yeah, for sure.
That's a respectful disagreement, but you know what that's like. So.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree. Well, I've talked to you many times before you even open the restaurant, and your folks are there getting ready. So the hours are really long, but the vibe is pretty cool when you go to your restaurant during Masters Week, because everybody's involved with talking about golf, talking about Augusta. It's really all inclusive. It's pretty neat experience.
Right. Well, along what Todd was saying, we bring in a couple specialty things. We're more protein laden than we normally would be because that's what the customers are looking for often. And again, we like to make people happy. And so we're providing other items that aren't new to us, but are different than the rest of the year. Things that may show up as a special during the year, we serve them all week that week. And the hours can be stressful. Near the end of the week, people start to wig out a little bit. So we don't do anything either. We stay in the restaurants. We're not doing outside catering. And it's plenty because everybody works a lot of hours. And, my feeling, Todd, do y'all open back for regular hours after Masters Week?
We do.
Yeah.
We close for a couple of days after. We used to be open Sunday to Sunday, but we don't do that anymore.
Okay.
I open Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
That Sunday's nice to have the final, to be able to go to the club or sit at home, hang out with friends and watch the tournaments. So.
Right. And so along those lines, that's what we do. And most years, Masters Week is, the week after Masters is our second best week of the year because a lot of the privately owned restaurants are catering and doing all these other events, and they've exhausted their staffs. And so they take off several days, and there's still a lot of people in town, and a lot of the in-town people want to go out. They haven't been out in a week. So, we try to capitalize on that and just do our best. I think Todd and I have a similar mindset on a lot of this. We try to make it profitable for our staff without beating them to death.
Yep. Well, I asked Todd about the origin of the name of his restaurant. French Market Grill is located in the same shopping center as Todd, Abel Brown, and your other restaurant, Race Coastal Cafe, is not far away, but it's a little bit more off the beaten path. And for folks who have never been to Race Coastal Cafe, yes, Race Creek runs behind the restaurant. But Walter will be eagle-eyed if he sees you walk in with a kayak to go put it in Race Creek behind the restaurant. So what was the impetus for naming that restaurant Race Coastal Cafe? Maybe just give me the backstory about how that occurred.
Well, when I was looking at the property, it had been another restaurant prior to that. A couple of years before that, it closed. And I went in and retooled it. And to me, it was an obvious choice because literally Ray's is the most famous creek in the world. Yeah. There's not one more famous. And so what I wanted to do is was hoping to have kids and wanted to be able to sneak away, for ball games and things like that. And, spend some time water skiing and just playing. And, if the place is called Walter's, then everybody wants to see Walter. And it's so funny. I'll be in the restaurant. A bunch of guys will walk in and look around and they go, Ray's Coast Cafe, where's Ray? And the bartender will go, it's Ray's Creek out back. And they go, oh, great. And they never ask again. And so that gives you a little bit of anonymity. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I know that
an ability to be not anonymous.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Well,
I did a wine tasting about an hour ago.
Oh, did you really? Good. We got you at the right time. That's perfect.
I'm drinking. I was drinking earlier so that your time in Augusta will be easier.
Well, I can tell you, and Todd, this is my moment when I went to Ray's one night about 15 years ago with some guys who had never been before, and we worked a long day working at Augusta National. And they were hemming and hawing about going to this restaurant. There was, 3 or 4 turns into the restaurant. And we walked in the front door. And at that time, D.A. Points was playing in the Masters. And D.A. had played at Pebble Beach. And his celebrity partner was Bill Murray. And so these guys are all tired. And we walk in the front door. And the first person standing in the front door is Bill Murray. So these guys are going, well, this is a pretty cool place to go. So that was their welcome to Race Coastal Cafe, was seeing Bill Murray standing in the doorway. So that was a pretty neat experience for all those guys. And of course, he was holding court when he was in there.
For sure.
Since we're talking about food, maybe give me you all's take on the food that they serve at Augusta National. Do you have a particular favorite sandwich? Anything you like to eat there? Do you have a routine or something you eat when you go to the Masters?
We don't really go out. I went out last year. I got the National gave me tickets for the as a hometown hero. So that was the first time I'd been to the tournament in a couple of years. So, but we do order the box. You know,
Yeah.
we'll get the box, which is nice to have around the house. Um, I love the pimento cheese and the egg salad.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can't beat the prices. I mean,
Oh God.
they really do it right. You know, it's just great. They gave me a $25 gift card for that for Saturday and then another for Sunday. And I took my wife and we ate like kings and did not and couldn't spend the whole $25.
Yep.
It was pretty amazing, actually.
Yep. Yep. Walter, your take on the food they serve there?
It's always high quality. They make sandwiches. They put them out. They have a specific shelf life, and then they take them out and don't sell them and give them to the staff because those guys are putting in 14 and 16-hour days, and some of them are sleeping on cots and staying overnight. So they really take care of their folks. My favorite thing is when I get to go out and I'll go out in the morning if I come in, the truck shows up on time, everything checks out. I'll go out for a few hours in the morning. But my go-to is a caddy club with barbecue chips and a bottle of water because it's a hard week to stay hydrated.
Well, we'll share a story. A few years ago, a couple of caddies from St. Andrews that I met came to the Masters. And I met them at the gate and walked them in, showed them where to go. And I had to leave and come back. And about an hour later, they were eating with these 4 or 5 people at a bench. And the people had convinced them to break open a bag of potato chips and put it in the middle of a pimento cheese sandwich. And that's the way they were eating it. So they did the little Frankenstein sandwich or whatever like that. So 2 questions regarding pimento cheese for both of y'all, what your take on it is. Where can you get pimento cheese that's similar to what they serve at Augusta National? What store serves that would be of similar mix and taste?
Where you could buy it, like commercially?
Yeah.
I don't know the brand. It's a Southern brand. They sell it. Walter, do you know they do a jalapeno?
Yeah, it doesn't taste like the Augusta National, but I like this one more. It's Palmetto. It's called
Palmetto.
Instead of pimento cheese, it's called Palmetto cheese. It's made in Carolina, South Carolina, I believe.
They do a good job for sure.
They do a real good job.
Okay.
If I'm doing store-bought, I mean, it's
Yep.
not complicated to make.
Yep. Do either one of you have pimento cheese or egg salad on your menu any time of the year?
I have pimento cheese. I have pimento cheese with Johnny cakes and andouille sausage. So we make pimento cheese here.
Is it $1.50, Todd?
No, it's not. No, but we use some really good cheese in there,
Yeah.
And
All right.
so
Use your creativity here. I know that a few years ago working at the Masters, we had a panini press in an area I was working on before taking the pimento cheese sandwich and making grilled pimento cheese sandwiches. And that was killer. That was really good. So if you all had a pimento cheese sandwich, what would you do to doctor it up to make it even more special separately if you made one? How would you make it?
Walter?
I wouldn't make a sandwich out of it. I like it warm on occasion, but a good chip and pimento cheese, that's all I need.
Oh, chip and dip kind of thing. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, Todd?
On a sandwich, I mean, white bread is really the only bread for that.
Yeah,
but maybe I think a really nice bright tomato, slice of tomato on there with some black pepper, salt and black pepper would be pretty delicious.
No doubt. Wow.
I mean, you can add anything else, but the tomato really works with that.
That's cool. Very good. Awesome. I suspect in your restaurants during Masters Week, much like the Bill Murray story I just told, that you have your brush with the famous and so forth like that. Walter, I know your story, but Todd, maybe give us a sense of people that have come in on a regular basis, or you met some folks who are somewhat famous? Are there any particular stories of that way coming to your restaurant?
We try not to, if anyone famous comes in, the staff is forbidden to talk to them because we want that we want them to feel like they're just like everybody else. But we've had LeBron James has been here, Billy Crystal, Brooke Shields, Condi Rice eats here a couple of nights every year during the tournament, and they're great. She brings her family, so she's really a great customer during the tournament. It's always good to see her.
Yep. Okay. Walter, same question to you, sir.
Yeah, we've had our share, and it's nice to see, the different golfers, Miguel Jimenez and Brad Faxon. They bring in friends and mostly family, the different people that you meet. That night that Bill Murray was there, he drove up from Charleston with some friends of his that were very close to him. And so, and I don't like to talk about it too much because I'm in, Todd's camp again with this is, you talk about it too much, people show up and get a drink and then just, wait until it costs somebody. And,
yep.
I will say that all of our guests without fail, whether I've ever met them or they're famous or whoever it is very, very kind, very gracious with their time. But, I don't want people to be uncomfortable in the restaurant. It's back to that selfish thing that Todd mentioned earlier. There's at the end of it, you want them to be joyful and you want them to come back again.
Oh, I agree. I think it's very complimentary for both of you guys. If they come in there, they feel comfortable enough in your space that they can come in there with some celebrity and they feel like they're normal people. So that's a nice attribute to have, that you do that.
Yeah, and we do our best to seat them appropriately. Meaning they're back to the door.
Yep, no doubt. So Todd, I'll start out with you on this one. Do you have any great Masters Augusta National stories, going to the property, seeing somebody play golf, anything of that nature on site?
I grew up here, so I grew up going out there. I remember getting a glove signed by Ben Crenshaw when he won in '84. We were there when Nicklaus won in '86. The craziest thing, I was living in California, and it was Tiger's first Masters, so I guess '97.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on the Tiger train at the time. I'm like, yeah, he's too young. So there was a big pool at the restaurant where I worked in Napa, and I flew home to go to the tournament, and Tiger won after shooting 40 on the front nine the first day. Shot 18 under, won by 6. And I got back to the kitchen in California, and there was that Tiger pose, that classic Tiger pose. They had Xeroxed all these copies off, and they were everywhere in the kitchen. They were just rubbing it in. Because I'm not even sure who I picked, but it wasn't Tiger. And then, you guys want to win 6 of them. So, it's all been great, going out there, watching Seve play, even people like, Andy Bean back in the day, just old school.
Yeah. No doubt. I agree. So Walter, what's your story? And I will lead you in a direction. You got to tell a story, but I'll let you speak for yourself first.
Well, I want to, again, I'm following in Todd's footsteps once again about the, what was that? Am I still on there? You said
yes.
That. Okay. The word mute just flashed on my screen, so I want to make sure I'm still on with you.
Yep.
So I was, there's another kind of famous restaurant guy in Augusta, Mark Cummings, God rest his soul. He owned T-Bones, and we were out there on the same day. And I'd followed Tiger, through his amateur career, and I wanted to see him play. And like I said, I'd watched some of him shooting 90 on the front, and I was in between 9 green and 10T talking to Mark, and I was getting ready to head back to the restaurant, and Tiger came walking by, and something happened on his face. The look on his face changed. His eyes kind of zeroed in, and I remember looking at Mark and going, "What was that?" I can't remember. He said it, I said it, but something happened from that hole to the next, and then we all know the rest of the story.
No doubt, no doubt.
I want to share one that for me is just fun because seeing our Irish hero, past champion, name fails me all of a sudden, who's our current champion?
Rory McIlroy.
Rory, God, sorry, Rory. Anyway, so watching Rory a couple of years ago go, coast to coast at 18 and in the bunker, and then chipped out, went up the hill, and then dribbled back into the hill and went in to save par. And about a year and a half ago, I got a chance to play out there and did the same thing. Drew a 4-iron into the trap on the left, went coast to coast. My host said his ball was between me and the hole, and he said, "You want me to mark that?" And I said, "God, I hope not. I'm aiming 8 feet to the right of where you are." And I hit that same shot, and it rolled up, almost stopped at the top of the hill, and then dribbled back what seemed like an hour, and then went in to save par.
Man,
nice.
Wow.
So, when somebody says, "I don't," what does that look like? I go, "Well, just look it up on YouTube."
No doubt.
It's not me, but it's the same shot.
So Todd, Walter has one of the most unusual brushes with greatness in Masters history. So he was standing left of the landing area on number 8 at Augusta National, and Sandy Lyle's on the tee. And Sandy Lyle hits his drive, and I will let Walter complete the story. It's the most unbelievable story I've ever heard of somebody attending a Masters round. So go ahead, Walter. Tell the rest of the story.
So I'm out there with Chuck Baldwin. We had left early. Went out early, and so we could get out there for a little bit before work. And just wandering around and couldn't. We were in between 8 and 2, and I looked to my right down the fairway. We didn't see anybody on the tee box, so we're standing talking about what our next move would be. And we saw Larry Mize come walking down too, and we said, "Well, let's go follow Larry for 2 or 3 holes." And as we turned to the left, all of a sudden it felt like I got a gunshot in my ear, and I remember staggering, but the witnesses said it was like I got hit and I hit the ground and I was unconscious. And he was playing with Jody Mudd that day, and when I came to, I was laying on the ground, writhing in pain, and everybody's like, "Just lay there, we'll get a medic to come." And I said, and then about that time I heard 4-4, and everybody scatters, and I look up, and about 8 feet from my head, Jody Mudd's ball lands and rolls into the woods. But he had to punch out and made par. Ball ricocheted off my head back into the fairway, and Sandy Lyle got to make birdie.
You were truly hard-headed. That's perfect. That's perfect. So Sandy tells the story that when he was on the tee, he says, "I hit a big draw, and the ball was like a heat-seeking missile going for Walter's head." So Walter shed a little blood at Augusta National. He's got the story to tell going forward. So that's always, you never can tell what you're going to encounter when you go to Augusta. So that's pretty neat. Changing course here a little bit. I know you all were devastated by Hurricane Helene. Not long ago, it was, Western North Carolina got a lot of attention for the damage it did up there, which was really devastating. But I don't think a lot of people to this day realize the devastation in Augusta that occurred. And both of you all were instrumental in trying to pick up some of the community. Todd, first off, I know Lawrence Bennett's going to be one of our guests on this show, and I know he was influential toward you in getting into your profession and so forth. But he grew up in the Sandhills community, so maybe share a little bit what was your inspiration after that storm for going over to the Sandhills community and helping feed those folks?
Well, I live in Sandhills, and we I drive past the Sand Hills Community Center every day on my way to work. So we were without power in our neighborhood for 10 days at least. So it all started because I started giving away ice because no one had any ice, and there was nowhere to get it. And I thought I was just joking with my rep, Mike Brown. I'm like, "Hey, Mike, can you send me some ice?" Just joking. And he said, "Sure, I've got ice. How much do you need?" And so I bought 50 cases, and you know, the roads were all blocked. There were trees down everywhere. So just getting a meeting point to do that, logistically was hard. But we started giving away ice, and once the gas stations got kind of some of the power on Washington Road came back, we kind of pivoted from that. And I have a good friend who wanted to help feed people, so I contacted Sand Hills, my contact there, and my staff. We weren't working, so I had all my cooks got together, and we cooked food for 4 or 5 days, just to have so people could get a meal. Refrigerators aren't working. There's no power. I was lucky. My brother-in-law brought me a generator from Charleston. So it was unbelievably hot for October, but it was nice. I was living pretty well, honestly, without power, and I just wanted to, help people that were less fortunate.
I agree.
So that's gone into now. I cook. We raised almost $2,000 this Christmas for them. We did a little promotion to get some gift cards to Sand Hills and to Harrisburg. Yeah, I cook turkeys for them every Thanksgiving. So, it's just good. They're so close, and they really appreciate it. I drive past that that giant T every day.
I hear you. Yeah. So for those of you watching, Sand Hills is a unique community located not far from where Todd and Walter's restaurant is. It's a Black community right in the middle of Augusta Country Club, these historic cemeteries, Augusta National, Walton Way, which has got a lot of historic old large homes. Located, a lot of the caddies who became famous at Augusta National grew up in the neighborhood. So really, really just being a part of community is really a neat thing you're doing there. So
Walter, it's right at 4 blocks away. I mean, it's really, really close.
Yeah.
So Todd, is your contact Veronica?
Veronica, yeah.
Yeah.
She is a driving force in that community in the city of Augusta. Her energy is boundless, and the things that she is able to accomplish is so meaningful to so many people.
So Walter, maybe share a little bit about why you were driven to help support community and so forth. I know during the pandemic, you told me the story about giving food out to some of your employees who weren't able to work. So that's an extension. This is an extension of that, I presume. So just what drove you to feel that you needed to support the community a little bit more like that?
Well, it's again, like Todd and I were saying earlier. I mean, it's what we do. It's what we love to do. And so you look at the situation, you go, okay, I have 2 options. I can sit on my hands and do nothing and go back to work and throw away a bunch of spoiled food, or I can figure out a way to get a camp stove or a generator and start cooking what I have now, with what refrigerated goods I've got. And again, you're not making money, but I think the joy is the same, maybe even more.
I agree. No doubt about it. Okay, folks are coming to Augusta and maybe not been there. They're coming there for the first time. You all give me a sense of when they, not just the Masters, but when they come to Augusta, what would you suggest they do during Masters Week that would be your advice to visit or go? And aside from visiting your restaurants, of course, but just something they ought to do, they ought to experience.
Well, that's not fair when you take away our number one answer.
Well, don't worry. We've had a lot. We've talking about it a lot of time here. So, anything that you would suggest they do, or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I've got, walk on the riverfront. Look at look at the history that made Augusta. We have the only museum in the world dedicated to Southern artists. We have, again, we're a mile from the course, and the Sand Hills is 4 blocks from here. Why wouldn't you drive through, Sand Hills to get a feel of what our community is? Because 2 blocks from that is all the antebellum houses, and so it's the dichotomy of our neighborhood and our city is interesting in itself. And I just think that we all get along, everyone.
Yeah.
So go out and shake the hands of somebody local. That's what I'll say.
I hear you, Todd. Same question to you, please, sir.
I mean, I think if you are a golfer, there's so much golf in this area within 50 miles. We've got Old Barnwell, Tree Farm. Reynolds. We've got great golf. And Augusta in April is probably the finest place to be on earth that week. Just enjoy the weather. The temperature's perfect. Just drive and look at the foliage, the flowers, the trees. Augusta in bloom is really a spectacular place.
No doubt.
Yeah, it really is. You always hear the stories about what the Augusta National looks like, and all the azaleas are in bloom, and all the holes are named after flowering plants. Well, drive around Augusta, the entire city looks like the Augusta National that week.
I think the most asked question the week before the Masters is, are the flowers going to hit their peak for during Masters? That's always the big question. So, no doubt about it.
So I think of myself, instead of the flowers hitting their peak, I'm like a lot of the golfers that are coming to play. I'm trying to get me and my staff to hit our peak that week.
There you go. Perfect. So Todd, you mentioned golf courses, and both of you guys are golfers. Maybe tell me it doesn't have to be the 3 best courses, but what are your 3 favorite golf courses to play in the Augusta region?
I'm a member of Augusta Country Club. It's really hard to beat that track.
Yeah.
It's true. I am too. We haven't played together, but we see each other there a good bit.
Yeah, it's a great course. I love Aiken Golf Club. It's a little short muni, which is a lot of fun to play. And I really love Champions Retreat. It's great. The Palmer 9, Palmer player. There's Nicholas and player as well. I'm a big fan of Champions. If you can, get on, it's great.
Same with you, Walter. Three courses that are your favorite to play.
I'm going to give 4 because I wasn't going to pick Champions until Todd reminded me of. I played out there a couple of times, and I like the setup of the 9s. And so my number 1 and 2 would be that. I'm a member of River Club, so I've got to mention River Club because that's a great track in its own right.
Great.
My next door neighbor's a member of the National. I tell him, I said, I'll put our greens up against yours on a day-to-day basis out at the National. And he goes, well, why would you say that? And I go, because 4 months out of the year you have no greens, and we beat you on all 4 of those months. So
yeah, no doubt.
But I really like Sage Valley.
Okay, got it. All right. So there's been there's a transformation which is getting ready to end here with the Augusta Municipal Golf Course being redone, the patch. I'm wondering, what have you've seen that sort of growing up over there on Damascus Road and Wrightsboro Road and so forth like that? What's your take on that project and what you witnessed when you're in that vicinity? Both of you.
It's incredible what they're doing. I mean, they have moved earth like you can't believe. Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing Forest Hills, which is right across the street from the patch. And back when I think it was Lawson Douglas was the pro out there. That was where all the caddies went and gambled when I was a kid. And we played high school golf there. They had a big tournament there called the Mickey Gallagher, which we used to big junior tournament. They've really, I can't wait to see it. They really have, the resources to pull it off. It's green, or it has been green the last time I went by there. They've put down all, sods everywhere. They're moving trees around. I think it's going to be incredible. I hope they move the first couple of rounds of ANWA there. I don't know what I have no idea if that's the plan or not, but I think it would be really great once it's up and running.
Yeah. Walter, your take on that?
I'm on the board of directors for First Tee, so they part of the work that they did at the Patch Project has now included First Tee, and Tiger Woods came and did a design for the 9 holes that will be part of First Tee. So they are, when you're on the practice tees at on the driving range, it's you can see both tracks from the driving range. It'll be the same clubhouse, and it's nice. They've included the First Tee, the work on the course, under what they were doing, so that now we don't have to raise money to have a course for the kids to play. They have a place to play, and now we can just focus on, growing good humans. And I think I wish I could think of her name, but she does a great job with the women. I mean, that woman does a great job with the kids at First Tee. But when you stand at First Tee and you look over, at what's happening there, it's brilliant.
I was asked to write a story for Augusta Magazine on the Patch, and I talked to Andre Lacey, which you guys may know. Andre's the head golf coach at Payne, Jim Dent's oldest grandson, who worked at the Patch for a number of years. And the message he delivered to me was, he says, I want to see the culture continue there. I'm not as concerned about the price as I am the culture. I want the culture to continue. He indicated that you would have somebody that was very wealthy. You'd go out there and play golf, and they'd play with some of the poorest people in Augusta, and they'd play together, and they had a great time. So, so that was the whole culture thing he was pointing toward, and I hope that continues. That would be a tremendous message if that continues on in that way.
Oh yeah, and in order for that culture to continue, it has to be affordable, and I think it will.
Yeah, I agree.
No one else can put that kind of money into a golf club and still be able to charge muni rates.
Yep. This is true.
That's the expectation. We haven't been told, but I mean the expectation is that's what will happen.
It's interesting. The people we've had on here, we've asked this question of a lot of people who are familiar with Augusta, and I get questions, just like you did, both of you guys did, and you get answers all the way to like Freeman's, the barbecue place over in North Augusta, which is basically the building looks like it's going to fall down. All the way to Sports Center, which great hamburgers, and to your restaurant. So it's really quite complimentary that you can get stuff that's just quick in and out, or go have a long evening experience at one of your places.
Sure. Todd, I want to say, because you missed it, you were off when it happened, but when he asked me that question, I thought, kind of deer in the headlights. I went, well, the last 2 times I went out to dinner was at Todd's, so I don't remember. But yeah, the ones that he mentioned are great.
Yep. So we're talking in early February. I'm wondering, Todd, first, do you have any new food ventures on the horizon that you can speak about, or where do you stand with that?
I was working on a little something. I'm just still kind of waiting on a space to pop open. But really nothing immediately happening.
Okay. All right.
I'm kind of happy what I'm doing,
I hear you. Okay.
I've got a good little program going here. So
no doubt. Same question to you, Walter.
Well, we're probably a week away from opening a place called Mr. B's Desserts that will be next door to the French Market Grill. And, we're finishing up. That's the room I'm sitting in now, and I'm looking around and I'm thinking mostly we got to get tools out of here and some decor completed, and, we'll be ready to go, get the desserts made. We've been, we do a lot of frozen pie, so a lot of that's ready to go. So we're pretty close to getting that spot open. It won't be a dessert bar Masters week. It'll be an oyster bar that week, because that's what people will be looking for.
Right. Well, last question to both of you. I know you're really busy during Masters Week, but have you seen an inclination for people to dine in at their private homes more so than go out to restaurants, or is that just sort of a case-by-case basis?
Walter?
Yeah, I think I think a lot of it's moving that way. A lot of it's going that way, and once we get the dessert bar open, we will probably move into that genre next year. We did it a little bit. I had a off-premise kitchen for 2 years, and we did it 1 year, and it worked out pretty well. But you really don't, unless you have a kitchen that you can devote full time to that. I think I can speak for Todd when I say this. Neither one of us want to do something and not do it well. And so if we don't have the resources, if we don't have the staffing, if we don't have the kitchen, if it interferes, if doing something extra interferes with what we're currently doing or beats up our staff too bad, it's a hard decision to make.
No doubt. Todd?
I think I do know, there's a lot of private catering going on. But for us, I mean, I've been really lucky here. I think every Masters is better than the last. Last year was the best year we've ever had. We fine-tuned it and we've just gotten it down. So we maximize seating and, but we're full, Pete, there's, we don't really struggle to fill the dining room that week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think as long as it keeps going the way it is, I mean, I don't see any reason for us not to do, what we've been doing in the past.
Yeah. And you take reservations all the time, and that's a new one for us. And so I will say the biggest transition I've seen are the people that want to walk off the golf course and walk into a restaurant with no reservation and eat oysters at the bar and then have a drink and sit down. And I've noticed that that's going away. So last year we started taking reservations. This year we'll probably take more reservations than we did last year. We'll leave some gaps for the people that have been coming for, every week for 30 weeks. We'll leave some blanks because they'll walk in with no clue that we're taking reservations. So, we'll figure out ways to take care of those folks.
No doubt.
But that's the biggest transition. More than I would say that would be a bigger move than the in-house dining.
Yep. So in closing, every time I talk to you guys or eat at your restaurants, I think of the hit series The Bear, the series about the chaos in the kitchen and the restaurants and so forth. And I think that you guys are like ducks with business on top and paddling underwater during the week when it's so busy. But I can tell you that if you go to Augusta and you go to Ray's or French Market Grill or Abel Brown, you'll both have excellent food and great hosting. The folks there are so accommodating. So it's really cool. And it goes even to Chris Cunningham with his Wife Saver Restaurants, which is a meat and three kind of place. So you can't go wrong when you go out these places. It's like going to Augusta and you sit down at the Masters and you share a sandwich with somebody you never met before. And a lot of times when you go to these restaurants, the people at the table next to you, you immediately strike up a conversation. And that's really a unique situation. We talked about Masters food today, on the course and off the course, which is a part of the real culture of Augusta National. So in a true sense of getting us what it's like to eat in Augusta, we're going to do a little food test with pimento cheese sandwiches. Sort of like Paula Deen in Savannah or Good Mythical Morning where they go, will it taco or will it pizza, something like that. Or when the Augusta Chronicle photographers back in the 90s had a contest one day to see who could eat the most pimento cheese sandwiches in one day. And the winner ate 17, believe it or not, and probably suffered a little bit for winning that event. So anyway, the cost of on-site sandwiches is only $1.50, as we've discussed. As David Weston, one of our guests, indicated earlier when he wrote a 2022 story, each sandwich has 4.25 ounces of pimento cheese And the offsite operation, they make about 100,000 sandwiches per night, which is hard to fathom. Anyway, so that's what we're looking at with the pimento cheese sandwiches. So the first one I'm going to do here is recommended by some people we've talked to both on air and off. Is the two brands that were brought up the most were this one first. This is Pimento cheese. Pimento cheese. So let's try that. Remember, it's got white bread and pimento cheese in the middle. Let's take a taste. Pretty creamy. Got a touch of heat afterwards when you do it, so that's the peppers coming through. So pretty good, and they use Hellmann's mayonnaise, what I understand. 140 calories per serving. So there you go for you people watching your weight when you're eating pimento cheese sandwiches. Oh, another thing, their website, this is pretty official here, is www.pimentocheese.com. That's pretty official right there as far as pimento cheese. I can still taste a little bit of the heat after the fact here. And it's made in Pawleys Island, South Carolina, which is just south of Myrtle Beach, not far from one of the really cool golf courses that you could play in the Carolinas, Caledonia Golf Club, which has got the best 18th hole from the clubhouse where people can cheer you on or boo you or whatever like that. It's a Mike Strantz golf course. So that's the Pimento brand of pimento cheese. Got to have a little swig of water after that. Okay, the other brand that's been recommended is My Three Sons. Sort of like the old 60s sitcom, My Three Sons. Okay, let's take a test of this one. Same deal. Same deal. Here it is. White bread, pimento cheese. Mm-hmm. This one's a little bit milder. I'm not getting the back taste, a little milder taste to it. According to their nutrition facts, it's they use all natural mayonnaise, okay? No artificial ingredients. As I said, it's milder. Less calories, got 110. Pimento's got 140. Their website is www.mtsgourmet.com. mtsgourmet.com. Made in Greensboro, North Carolina. Wow. Okay, so it's made in Greensboro, North Carolina. The cool thing about Greensboro, North Carolina is that Bobby Jones' daughter, Clara Jones Black, resided there, got married. The black Cadillac in Greensboro goes back to the Bobby Jones family. So that's pretty cool. So once again, these are the two here, Pimento and My Three Sons. So you can select those if you want to create a master's sandwich or a master's party, things of that nature. And if you order Taste of the Masters from Augusta National, it's provided by a company called Goldbelly. You can get the whole 9 yards there, cups, chips, sandwiches, just whatever you get. And it'll be shipped to your door in time for the Masters. But I don't know what they use as far as pimento cheese. They may have their own recipe that they do that. I've seen people take these sandwiches, as we see here, and take a pack of potato chips and crack this open and put potato chips in the middle of it. Gives it a little crunchy taste to it. I've seen people take the chicken sandwich at Augusta National, crack open a pimento cheese sandwich and spread some of it on the chicken sandwich to make it a little cheesier, of course. 1 year at Augusta National, there was a group that had a panini press, and they were taking the pimento cheese sandwiches and putting them on putting them on the Pimento press, and they were having grilled pimento cheese sandwiches. And that was really good. That was really cool. So that's a pretty gourmet version of pimento cheese sandwich. Probably would cost you a lot more than $1.50 if they actually had that out there. So wanted to go this taste test here. So there are the two sandwiches I've taken a bite of. Here's the two brands that we're talking about, and have at it. Have a pimento cheese sandwich right at the Masters. Thank you.